Okay, welcome back everyone. It's been quite a while since I've released a new part in this series. Sorry about that, but yeah, life did get a bit busy, but I am back. I do have the scripts written for the next few videos. In fact, I've had them written for a while, all the way up to Icicle, I think, or maybe Keeper. But I do have the next few levels written, is the point. I just never ended up having the time to record, but I do now. So in this part, I'm going to be covering the 5th level in the game, the Fountain Guardian. Like quite a few of the levels we've covered previously, this level's 80% and IL routes are essentially the same, so I'll just be going over it once, mentioning a few slight differences along the way. Most of the level is pretty straightforward, although due to it being a bit longer and having some tricky movements, I have given it a difficulty rating of 2 out of 10. So, to start off, we're going to head over to the leaderboards and go to Fountain Guardian. I'll open up this video and we'll do the run through. Alright, so with this level, the main premise of it is there's 5 rocks. And the worm can be under any of these 5. Now, in ILs, you're going to want to reset for perfect RNG, which means the first rock you pick up will have the worm under. In any percent, usually won't be too fast. Now, there's 4 rocks. Any of the 1 to 4 rocks are usually fine. The 5th rock is all the way down at the bottom. Usually in my case, because I'm at a point now where I'm trying to get very competitive any percent times, if I get the rock, and because Fountain Guardian is so early into the any percent run, if I get the 5th rock, the one down at the bottom, I usually just reset. I don't bother continuing. But when you're starting off, it's no big deal. You might lose 45 seconds, 45 seconds to a minute. But if you're not at the point where you're trying to get like sub 255, that sort of time loss is perfectly fine. Now, it doesn't usually matter which rock you go for in ILs when you're resetting for the perfect rock. I like to go, as you can see here, I'm going up to the top rock, the one closest to the vine, because I believe that one has the least amount of deviation, like movement going off the path to the place where you drop the worm. But you can also pick up the rock at the bottom closest to the vine too. It just depends. This one I find I feel like it has less movement off to the side, like it's the quickest rock to get to. So I go for that one, but you can go for the bottom one. But you will be looking at getting the perfect rock for ILs if you want an even remotely competitive time. Now, when you drop the rock, there is a cutscene to skip. And you'll see here, so in any percent, because you can't skip that cutscene, you'll have to watch it, and by the time you get out of the cutscene, the worm will be there, so you'll just pick up the worm straight away in any percent. In ILs, because you skip the cutscene, you do have to wait for the worm to come out of the ground before you can pick it up. So in that time, what I do is I walk across the hole to the side closest to the water well here where the slide is, so that I can pick up the worm and then walk, and that way I'm walking less. So it's just little time saves, but they do help out. If you're just starting out and those micro movements are a bit finicky for you, you don't have to worry about that. Anyways, from there I click directly on the fountain. Now you'll have to skip 2 cutscenes. You have to press minus twice. And once I click on the water fountain and I start walking there, I like to move my cursor over the item screen. That way I have it there, and then I press minus twice, skip the cutscenes, my cursor is ready to drop the item, and I drop the worm. And there we go. Now, you won't have to start pressing minus until the frog actually reaches the worm. That's when you can skip the cutscene. And then from there, now you can, if you feel comfortable, you can click on the vine straight away to minimize movement. Or I usually click at the bottom of the ramp and then wait for the vine to come more on screen and then click it. Either way, you want to spend as little time moving your cursor around to press somewhere and not moving. You just want to start moving as soon as you can in the right direction. So whichever one you can do best, go for it. Now, where the frog is at the bottom, it will change a bit. He'll usually be in the middle or down at the bottom. Just walk close enough to the frog where you're in bell range and itemize him. And if you can, try and get a mid-air grab. Mid-air grabs are the hardest trick in the game. But they're also the trick you can pull off the most, and each one can save anywhere between, half a second to 2 seconds. This one is one of the hardest mid-air grabs to do, just because where the frog goes tends to be pretty random. It's not very consistent at all, because where the frog is not very consistent. I usually find the closer the frog is to the bottom of the screen though, the frog bomb will generally fly behind you. If he's more in the center, it'll usually fly off to the right. So I tend to place the cursor above Zack's head roughly and press A twice and usually pick it up, or sometimes slightly off to the side depending on where I think it's going to go. You might not get this all the time. Don't stress too much if you don't. You definitely don't have to. It's a very difficult thing to do, but if you can, it definitely doesn't hurt. So if you want, go for it, practice it. And I usually get this mid-air pickup. I've played this level a lot, so I usually get it about 70 to 80% of the time. But it definitely doesn't start off that way, trust me. There was lots and lots of failed attempts. And even if you go for it and you fail, you won't lose too much time, if any at all. It'll be within the range of half a second to a second max. Unless you're pressing off in the way wrong direction, you start walking the other way, you'll generally not really lose any time if you fail it. So I recommend just going for it. And if you miss it, you'll pick it up anyways, a bit later, waiting for the item to fall. And if you get it, you'll save a bit of time. And just doing the run again and again, you'll slowly build up that consistency. So next, I just hold the cursor off to the side of the screen. I just point it towards the fountain. Because you can click on that rock pedestal, the diving board, or you can click on the water. Either way, it doesn't matter. Zack will go to the diving pedestal to drop the frog bomb. So it has a very large hitbox that covers pretty much the whole far left side of the screen. So it's very generous. And there I just hold the cursor in the middle, start spamming A until I can get it, until it activates, and I just drop the frog bomb, skip the cutscene, and I have my cursor ready again to the left to click on the water or the diving board, and then I dive down. Now, what I do is I keep the cursor just below Zack, and I like to keep mashing A to get him swimming down until I'm right next to the spring plug, and then I actually press the spring plug to activate it. Because if you press the spring plug once, he will start going to it, and if you start spamming on the spring plug, he will start freezing up in the water. This level is the level that introduces water movement, so that is something to get used to. Especially with purple objects in the water, you want to click them once. And I'll talk about some of the other water movement a bit later when we go into the water the second time in the level. So now just aim the cursor for the center, press A to get it, and then just pull up. And I do hold the Wii remote to the side, but you don't have to. Anyway, there's a cutscene to skip. I was a bit slow there with grabbing the spring plug. It will always be in that consistent position. Skip the cutscene again, and then, yeah, you want to click right on the bank, sort of where the curve is, to get Zack out. And then I press B and I start panning the camera down. Now, my goal is to click the ground here, because it's a very generous platform, as soon as Zack gets out of the water. It'll be off screen a bit, and then I click here, and then I either click here or I click straight on the key. It doesn't really matter. Grab the key, and then when I'm moving back up, now this time I clicked on the stairs, but what you can also do is you can also just hold the cursor up to your top left. My camera is inverted, so I'll say top left, and to you it'll be I'm pointing the other way. Yeah, so I'll do it the opposite. So top left, this way. Again, the camera reverse is just weird. And you can actually click the water up in the top left, in the purple hitbox. If you're up far enough in the top left, it will click the water, and Zack will go straight to the diving board and dive right in. So you can actually eliminate that movement. But if you're just starting out, it might be easy to click the stairs and then click the water. Then pan the camera and click the water. If you don't want to just click the water straight away, you can click the stairs above, pan camera, click water. That way it's a bit more generous. Now with this part, water movement with Zack is very important. It may seem a bit strange and clunky at first, but once you understand the basic principles of how it works, it's very easy to understand, and you will get very, very good at it. So when you're doing the water movement, Zack looks at his position and he looks at where you're pointing. And he will try and swim straight to it, the fastest way there. Now, like this section, how you have this sort of U shape and you have to go up, if you're on this side and you click on the other side of the wall, Zack will try and swim straight there, even if there's a wall in the way, and so he won't go anywhere, he'll just freeze. So you need to bring the cursor so that there is, where you're clicking and where Zack is, there is nothing in the way, so he can swim straight there as I am. Doing right here, you can see. I wait for Zack to get on the other side of the wall before I then start going up. And you'll also notice that I'm hugging the wall as tightly as possible, so that Zack doesn't have to swim down as much, so it's cutting out as much movement as possible. I'm hugging that top wall, because then Zack has to go down a bit more and then up a bit more if I go like down all the way. I want to minimize the amount of time. Like that's the same sort of stuff race cars do on the racetrack. They tend to like hug the center. And it's a bit more complex with corners, like that's the general idea. Absolutely minimize that movement. And again, you'll see I'm still clicking in that exact same position, and as Zack gets closer and the camera moves up, I'm moving my cursor, so I'm still clicking in that same position, which is where the bricks are. I'm not clicking above the bricks, because above the bricks, it turns purple, and on purple, you can only click it once to activate it. You don't want to click it multiple times, because again, Zack will freeze. So once he gets close, I then click the purple once. Zack gets out, I click the door. The camera will sort of pan across, and then the cursor appears, then I click the door. I go in, I turn the key, there's a cutscene to skip, and then there'll be the wiki text. The camera will pan, okay no, the camera doesn't actually pan there. So you can click straight on the chest or on the wall above the chest usually is the most consistent. And then just as it starts to pan across, and you'll see Zack has his foot sort of on that pedestal, that's when you can start ringing. Right about there, so that you have that, you don't have to walk all the way to the chest, and then when the chest is bouncing, you walk the rest of the way. Just little stuff like that. So yeah, that there is Fountain Garden. I'll play the full level now, uninterrupted, so you can see the full run, and then I will be back after that little segment. JC's nice. Living GD like anything else. Right. Yes! This is already an awful run. We're on the 12th of April? Ooh. Nice. I am so rusty. No, but yeah, you don't want to be going to a farm now, do you? I mean, that'll probably be like, what, a 217? Get some chickens in here. Yeah, he's got the chickens. Alright, and that there is my tutorial on how to speedrun the Fountain Garden for both the IL and 80% categories. So this one implements movement in water, which may take a bit to get used to and become efficient with. The main things to practice in this level is the movement specifically in the water, and moving from the lake down to the key and back up, as all the area of the staircase, it's like the parts where you can move are a bit restrictive. So that's the main area to improve. In the next part, I'll be going over how to speedrun King of the Jungle, which will incorporate much more difficult movement in water and on land. I hope this video was able to help some of you pick up some small tips and tricks to help you with your runs, and I will see you all next time.